Get ready, cause it's about time for you to speak your mind. Super secret girls club. Super secret girls club. Super secret girls club.
Beautiful, Sarah. Beautiful.
What's up, everybody?
Hello.
Saw it.
We're like, how do we podcast?
We are here. We are here finally. Today, we are here with three lovely ladies. My name is Marketa, and I will let them introduce themselves.
Oh, my name's Bree. Hi.
Hello, I'm Sarah.
Hey, I'm Nobby.
And together we're Sailor Moon. No.
I wish.
And these girls have one thing in common. They are all queer.
Oh,
Other things in common, but that's like,
That's the
that's the main
you
one.
know.
Main one.
I don't know how you based making your friends, but most of the time it's the level of queerness.
Drinking.
Then yes.
is the other thing.
Drink, yeah,
True.
drink. No, we drink. Yeah,
I mean,
Definitely drinking.
That's
a
true.
lot of that.
I think we also just all together nerdy and weird.
Yeah.
we pay
Yeah,
bills.
We pay bills.
Yeah,
They
that's
have
the
more
thing,
than one
though.
things in common.
Yes.
But
It's
for the
actually-
purpose and intentions of this podcast,
like trying to figure it out.
We have to go. The inmates are running the asylum.
we're going to be talking about their experience of, being queer and, experience of coming out and things like that. They're all from different backgrounds, different cultures. So while they all have the same experience, it's probably vastly different. So I'm so excited that they're here to share their experience today. I hope that you guys, if you are listening, you're going to learn a lot from them. I'm just going to stay quiet for most of the podcast. I just have the questions to ask, and then they will be the ones talking.
It's a panel. It's a gay
Yeah. I just want you guys to be heard.
Wait, are you an ally or are you a part of this queerness?
Are you an ally? I'm a fierce ally.
I'm gonna say it's complicated right now.
She's coming to the side, ladies.
I'm telling you, the men in the Normies have bi-wife energy.
Bi wife energy. Bi wife energy. What? Bi.
Oh my god. Anyway, so I would also love to encourage the chat. I do have a lot of questions for these girls, but if you have additional questions, feel free to ask in the chat. I will be monitoring it, and if there is anything that we feel like is important or interesting, I'm gonna ask them that question. So participate, please.
Give us your questions.
Give us your questions.
We've got
Questions.
maybe answers.
Maybe we'll try our best.
Awesome. So now, without further ado, let's just get to the meat of it, because we only have about an hour to do this, and all the things that we're going to talk about are super important. So, my first question for everyone is, how old were you when you had suspicion or knew that you were attracted to humans in a way that's different from what our heteronormative society dictates?
Love that question.
Ally.
Yeah.
I love it. Who wants to start?
And also, how long was your journey from suspicion to confirmation? I would like to ask Sarah first, because we have her picture here.
Okay, which one? Oh, dear.
Baby Sarah.
Look at that little granola gay. She didn't
Baby.
know.
A granola gay.
Yeah, I had no idea. I honestly didn't. I did a lot of very queer things growing up that I didn't realize were queer until like after college. Like I was doing all sorts of gay stuff.
That's the
But I just thought
dictionary term.
Yeah,
All
I
sorts
just
of
thought
gay.
that's like what
People do.
like straight girls did. I thought they all had very close, intimate relationships with their female friends, and that they all were like making out with each other and spending the night and doing
Girl.
those things. But we had boyfriends, so it was fine. And it wasn't until after college that I was like, oh, no. Maybe there is some more to it here. And then I did a little self-exploration and started coming out to people, started like exploring my sexuality a bit more in like romantic ways, not just like hanging out and like hooking up with people. It was more like, oh, maybe I could date women. And so like since then I've dated men and women. I've dated more men than women just because it's like a lot easier.
Literally,
Oh my
that is,
God.
I was gonna go and make a
Which
point of
is-
that. It's
but
just
also for most of my 20s, I didn't really want to like have any sort of like very involved relationship or like be really emotionally vulnerable, and it's really easy to do that with men. Sorry guys, it tends to be just a lot simpler when you don't want to open yourself up fully to them. They don't necessarily mind.
prefer it sometimes.
Yeah. Thank you, Hunter. Yes. it
No
does
lies
track.
detected.
Yeah. But so I am now in a very gay relationship. But I've been out but I've been out to my family for a little while. I've been out to my brother for longer than my parents. But explaining bisexuality is how I identify, or just queer, to a couple of boomers on a paddleboard in the middle of a lake is a little bit confusing.
That's essentially what
we're-
gay rights is.
So we're going to talk about that talk as well.
Yeah.
But this question, I just wanted to kind of cover, like, how long did it take you to realize?
It took me a while. It took me
Yeah.
a long time. Long story short, it took
Yeah.
me a bit. Yeah.
So Sarah, I just realized that I probably haven't come out to my grandparents, and I sent them the link to this podcast.
Well, now they know.
So hey,
Hey, Grant.
hey, you guys didn't know, now you know.
So, Brie, why did you go next?
Yeah, there you go.
What was the question?
So the question was, how long did it take you to realize that you were attracted, to human beings in a way that isn't what society expects?
So I didn't realize until society didn't like it. I already knew. I remember we had just moved back from Germany, and it was never like an assumption of if I felt this way. It was more like I'd watch Treasure Island, and watch like Lilo and Stitch, and I'd be like, oh my goodness, I'm so bad with names, but her sister was everything. I'm
Yes.
like, if you
With the
have
curves
she
and
what?
everything.
But she like took care of her kid, Nani.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like she took care of her baby sister.
Yeah.
She made her bills paid. She hustled, and she was going ahead and making sure she had a good time and time for herself while surfing. And that's
so
what I
great.
realized. And then I liked Bubbles too. So then I was like,
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so it's always a vibe. And then so I wasn't until a sleepover that I had with a bunch of girlfriends, which I realize now we weren't friends. We were just like snarky. But I'm still friends with one of them, and she told me, I can remember her name, Shannon, and you probably still can't find her, but if she does find this, what's up, girl? You were the one.
I love it.
She came out and she was like, hey, I'm bisexual. And I was like, what does that mean? And then she's like, it means you like both. And I was like, there's a word for this? And that was great. And so then I was like, okay.
That's
so
awesome.
I was like, I have a word for this. But then I was mainly attracted to like anime characters for a while. And then
Totally.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right? Makes so much sense.
Yeah, we've all had that.
Yeah.
and I was just like, people, but I was getting into a little of a Jinjo Romantica, if you feel me. And
Other thing we have common.
right, other things we have in common.
Amazing.
And then I realized like more than 15 in junior high, I was like, oh, people come out, so I should probably come out to people. And then I decided to come out to my parents, and we'll get into that later. But that was an adventure. But how about you, Nobby?
Well, so for me, it's been a little weird. So I grew up in India. Like I was here, but when we moved back to India. So when I hit
Hold on,
puberty,
Nobby. Hey.
I was.
Chris, we have Navi's picture. Can you?
Oh, we didn't even show
We have-
Bria's.
We have little baby Navi.
Oh my god.
My mom couldn't find any. I'm so sorry. It's on some dusty hard drive.
I want to make sure that everybody sees this because I love that picture so much.
Also, don't worry, we'll get back. I know that we didn't show Bree's photo, but
Go back to.
don't worry, we'll have the chance to show Bree's photo again. Hey guys, this is the voice of Chris back here. I was working on the delay and such, but keep going, ladies, go off.
Thanks, Cass.
So now you know.
Okay, Navi, I'm sorry
I've
for
been at the
interrupting.
airport since I was a kid. So that's. So I've been traveling. That's like my favorite
She's a
picture as
global
well. But yeah, like when I hit my puberty, I was in India, and it was weird because I was interested in female, but like in India, you don't talk about sexuality. Like I didn't even know what periods were, to the idea that people get together, there's like thing called sex, and then but because in India it's like you get married to a guy, that's it, period. Mm-hmm. So I did not know what it was called or anything. So when I moved here, I was still like, okay, that's kind of weird, but at the same time I was like, nope, straight. You're gonna get married to a guy. And I didn't realize what it was. Like you said, like you had a friend who told you like, oh, I'm bi. Like same in college. I had a friend in my like senior, junior year, and she was like, I'm bi. I was like, what the hell is that? So it's like, oh, I like boys and girls. Like, oh, so there's a thing. And then I started like looking into it, and I started working at Kinsey Institute on like my senior year.
I'll do it.
So it's like, okay, oh yeah, that opened up everything. It was like, oh, there's not only bisexual, like straight or gay. There's like these other categories that I had no idea. You don't talk about it. You don't like really, Like now it's everywhere. I feel like I don't know if it's more prevalent or if I'm seeking out that information. But at growing up, that information wasn't available. So like in my senior year of college, I started experimenting, and like once I graduated, I think I was fully on. Like that's when I came out to my best friends. Like, hey, I think I'm bi. And I've come out to like, I guess we will talk about it a little bit more, but like it's usually like in senior year of my college and afterwards when I was like really like, okay, let's explore this. And that's when I started like coming out to my friends, and it's like, I do like this. Like I'm interested in females. Like I was always for me like Kim Impossible. Fucking loved Kim Impossible. Like girl. Every time was.
I would have dated her so much better than Ron could have ever dreamed of.
Dude, both
I would have worked out in the morning.
I was
panic baby.
absolutely like so good. Like mangas, like Nana. I don't know if anybody read manga Nana. Dude. I think she was the one who told me like when I was like, dude, I am way more attracted to her. I read all the manga, all of it, and I was like so freaking attracted to her. Like I dreamed about her. So it's like, okay, maybe there's something here. Yeah.
You know, actually, I'm really like my full bi awakening was when I realized I liked Itachi Uchiha so much, and then it was the long hair, and he was so masculine and feminine, and I was like, that's what I want in a partner.
Yes,
that's it.
It's I mean, also going like I think we'll talk more about it, but like it's just I have dated more guys than girls.
It's just easier. Unfortunately,
I'm sorry, but it is like sometimes like I am also can be very. Do not want to talk about my life, whatever. There's so much going on. It's like, I just want to have this one thing. I just want to have sex and I'm done. I'm going to go home. But with females, it's like, okay, I cannot have this conversation, have 3 days to get what I want.
But I love women though, because you can literally tell them, I'm just not feeling the vibe. And then they're like, Bet, do you just want to cuddle and watch TV? And I'm like, yeah. But
it's just, I don't know. I feel like I've gotten to that point now to like find out like, okay, let's cuddle. But before it's like, okay, I need to go on what's like.
Before either.
Yeah, no.
My girlfriend will now tell you that I am much more of a cuddler, but before I'd be like, do not touch me ever. Oh, we have sex.
Oh my God, can we talk about the no touch stud phase? Because I feel like everyone goes through the no touch stud phase. No. And that
what is that?
It's also like it's like when you start dabbling in shenanigans and you just don't like you have to get over the fact that you also are worthy of pleasure and that you have a vagina and you should probably know what it looks like and how it works. And then you don't want other people touching you because there's this weird shame thing about it. But you want to touch others and explore others. So you just want to give and not receive. Yeah. So it's like, I'm going to make you feel all the pleasures of the world. Don't fucking touch me. Okay, we can cuddle and no.
I've been all about giving.
I want all the attention.
But see,
I want the attention, just don't.
That's something I'm learning now, like receiving and everything. That's totally now. And I think it's more easier for me now to like actually date girls because it's like, okay, I am open to receive because my whole time would be like, I will give. And okay, I know how to pleasure you. Like, okay, we're done. And it's like, no, wait a minute. There's other side.
Because when that first girl comes in and actually comes and she's like, no, and then it's like daddy energy. You have to have that one.
Hey, excuse me. I just want to say that I took down everyone's family photos while you guys are talking about making people come for the first time. So feel free to really live your best lives over there.
My parents know.
I don't know why you did that.
My parents don't know all of that. They don't need. They don't understand.
Yeah, my parents don't have link to this.
Oh, yeah, my parents, they said that could tell them everything. My mom said, tell me the truth, and I'll be the one person to make you out of jail. And she regrets it every time I yell details.
Well,
Love it.
I am every day very grateful for the fact that my parents don't know English. It's the things I say.
Yes.
I
Absolutely.
can never be president after this, but if I am, I'm a changed woman 20 years from now. Yes.
I'll totally be.
Wouldn't you want a
Run for
president
it.
who's lived life? I just assumed. Yeah. My name's Beyonce and I'm the president. What's the next question?
Yeah.
All right,
on.
moving on. Another one more before we go to the coming out, like externally.
But
One more internal question. What was your biggest fear as a child after discovering that you're different?
Homelessness.
Yeah.
Was it interesting?
I wasn't necessarily a child just because
Adult.
it wasn't like in the realm of possibility to me. Like I didn't realize anything was gay until later on, but I think it took me a while to like be open about it with my family because of they're pretty religious and they love me. They're very caring, like honest, like good people, but they are like very religious in a way that made me fear that they were going to treat me differently if I came out or act differently towards me. And for like a lot of college and like my early 20s, like I still needed them occasionally financially, even when
Still
I was
dependent,
like,
yeah.
working. So I was like worried about not being able to rely on them both fiscally and emotionally because I am pretty close with my parents. And I was just like really worried about that relationship changing.
Yeah.
It has a little bit, but
You know, I assumed the relationship would change, but more so, I read so many horrific stories and knew so many friends that I had to console at school, even on the military base, but also in Jamaica, they murder gay people, and my mom's Jamaican. And luckily, I say this, we already have a gay in my family, my Uncle Calvin. So I was like, okay, I felt that the urge, like, okay, I feel like my parents are not going to do anything drastic, but if I was like, I'm just gonna become a star, and then I'm gonna glow up and act like I don't know nobody.
that's one route. That's one way to do it.
And it really, like, that really was my mentality. I was like, I had the thought process, and that made me much more independent. I was like, if this does come out and they do act ill, I'm gonna make sure I'm taken care of. And luckily,
So
it
come
didn't.
out whenever you feel safe and okay to do it. Do not rush coming out.
Financially,
Yeah.
like literally, when you move out to your apartment and be like, hey, and granted, I didn't at 15 after dinner. We had a huge fight. But the biggest thing for me was like, I was worried that my story would reflect so many others, because it was unfortunately not uncommon for me to meet older gays than because I researched everything. As soon as I find something out, I was like just reading. I've bisexuals through history. Pick that book up. The bisexuality through history.
Manifesto.
Yes. And I was worried that I was like, that I might be homeless. That wasn't the rejection part, because I was like, the Black community is kind of like, someone's homophobic in the family at least.
There's at least one in every family.
Every family.
Or at least 50% usually. But it was like, either that's going to happen, or they'll have me with open arms. But my parents were also religious. Well, my mom was religious. So I wasn't sure. Luckily not. And we're working through it, and we're having a much better relationship. But that was my biggest fear, was just like, I might be out on my own.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
I think same. My parents are very traditional, like typical Indian parents. So like my fear, like I've always, growing up as a brown girl, it's always like you obey your parents. Like, you follow all the rules and you're a good daughter. And like till now, like unconsciously, it's like I'm gonna try to be a good daughter. Like it was a whole battle when I wasn't gonna be a doctor. Like that was a whole fight with my parents. So when I realized like, oh, I might be bi, it's like, I don't know how I'm gonna tell my parents. Like I know the fear would be, yep, get out of my house. Because I fought with my mom on this hypothetical. It's like, oh, what if I am? And the thing as a kid was like, well, we'll kick you out. It's like, okay. And then like, all right, well,
That's
maybe I won't tell you.
Put
I
that
will wait.
back in the pocket.
I will wait until I have a reason to tell you. But yeah, that's always been a fear.
awful.
That is still my fear.
I feel that.
But I think it's gone easier now that I'm on my own.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
It's turned into from a fear that they, or it to, if you don't like me, you can suck it, because
Yeah.
Don't live under your roof. And
Yeah.
you, like, I don't have
Yeah.
to obey.
I have a
your
chosen
rules.
family. And I realized
Exactly.
the queer network is the best network.
Yes.
Besides a different type of network that I can't say because I'm going to be president and I did not inhale. The queer network is so helpful because like when you I never had friends. I never had to come out with my friends because like they were all gay. Like it was very much of a we know, baby, we know.
Yeah.
And so that network was always built. And so it wasn't the fear of the rejection from my friends because honestly, all my high school career, like all my friends were the anime nerds and the LGBTQ, and then the teachers who loved us, and they really look out for each other. Especially even in college, you find other ones, and I'd be like, I'm kind of just out here. I don't know where I am, and they'd be like, I got you. So there's someone who will lift you up as soon as they're like, I know what you're feeling. There's like a bar, a lesbian bar, one of the few ones in Paris. Like it's very communist oriented, and so they'd have light bulbs out for you. They have other things that like people donated this. What do you need? And they'll build you up and take you out. And I just like that a lot.
Yeah.
We have a couple things in the chat that I wanted to go over.
Yeah.
First, Spidey is wondering if you date him only because of his long hair and beautiful figure.
We do love a feminine man.
He had full bi-wife energy, and for a black man to have full bi-wife energy, that's very attractive. But no, it's not for that. I love him for his mind as well as his thighs. I'm a thigh-sexual. It actually turns out.
Pull your thing.
Yeah, I can see.
I love you, baby.
We have a youthful eagle, really like a memorable Navy quote. I just want to have sex.
Yeah. Sometimes you just gotta get it.
Just one.
Have a good hoe
You're
face.
frustrated. You're just like
Yeah.
busy.
A safe hoe phase, but have a hoe phase. Everyone have a hoe phase.
It's needed.
Yeah.
But then
Get tested, use protection, but have a
Yes.
hoe
and
phase.
act like a cat. You
Absolutely,
go there
it's
and fucking leave.
Real quick, there was one question that I don't know if you get to. Also, definitely down for the hoe phase. Everyone should have one if you can.
I'm,
Are you gonna read that one? Oh, okay. I didn't know.
Yes.
You didn't tell me.
So we have a question from Booth Macaroni 37.
What a name.
Who is wondering if any of the Normies guys are members of the community. Not to take away from these lovely ladies, I'm just curious. I don't think that we should be.
I wouldn't out anybody. I'll say Spidey's a very strong ally. Like he bought the ally flag. He knows which flag to buy, and that was really nice. He just popped up. He's like, "This is the one I have. I tried to get the buy flag, but they were all sold out." And I'm like, "Baby."
That's
I think as far as we know, everybody's ally. We are open, and I don't.
If in a year that changes, beautiful.
Yeah.
If
And
it
if-
doesn't, also beautiful.
And if it does change, seen it, called it.
Just gonna speak for myself. I'll say that I'm definitely 100% an ally, but also like 95% straight. So there we go. We got a whole 5%.
Oh yeah.
Room for persuasion.
Thank you. Hunter.
Can we actually? I hope we get onto this.
Persuasion with consent.
Persuasion with consent, and also experiment.
Enthusiastic.
Did you guys know? Were you taught this? Because we had a community. What's it called? A club. At that time, it was the one before the LGBTQ club, the one that
It's like a GSA.
GSA.
Yeah.
And
the Gay Straight Alliance.
and if you were in that club, hello, nice to see you here. We had to fight for ours, and it was one of the few ones, and that's where all my friends were. But we had they had educational talks, and they taught us about the spectrum of sexuality, and it was
cool. They didn't have any of that in my school.
I'm very grateful for that because it made me understand for a lot that a lot of people assume that they're 100% straight, and it's okay to realize that we're not, because we have to be. If you ever called your friend ugly, you know what made them attractive. It's okay. You don't want to have coitus with them, but you know what cute is cute. Just accept it. If you buy men's health magazines and there's a shirtless, sweaty man in your bathroom, you're at least just a strong 95%. I'll give you 98.
See, that's
95% straight.
I learned from Kinsey as well, working at Kinsey. Like he did a huge study. It's like nobody's extreme. Like there's few people who extreme straight and extreme gay.
Yeah.
Majority of people live in the middle.
Yeah.
Like that is it's a graph that was like extremist highest.
Gay extremist.
Gay extremist. But I also I took a psychology when I was undergrad, and one thing we learned about sexuality, there was abnormal psychologist, and it's I learned, and I totally believe the female sexuality is plastic. we can malleable whichever way we really want to, whereas males, they usually tend to know very early on what they like, what they don't like.
You know,
I think
not allowed to explore in the same.
I think
That's true, too.
they were both moldable. It's just more people. I love of the gentlemen who actually are able to explore, because you can tell the difference. There's usually the ones that are safe at clubs, and the ones that won't follow you there.
I mean, maybe not female, but like all the sexuality is plastic, but you need to, I think media does a lot big on it, like males not to explore, while females, it's like, even if you're not straight, if you have a threesome and you're like, oh, it's fine, and then you're
Yeah, but it's also okay. It's okay.
There's
It's
also
totally
like
okay.
another layer of, so there's like your romantic sort of spectrum and your like sexual attraction,
Which is different.
So
Yes,
there
there's
are some
difference.
people
There's
that-
3 kind of love that I believe.
Yeah, that are like more like you could be more sexually attracted on like one end of the spectrum and more romantically attracted, and that can shift too. Like there was probably a point in my life that I was probably more in the middle of like sexual attraction, but more like romantically attracted to men, and I think that was a lot of just like what was taught to me. But at this point in my life, I still identify as bisexual and queer, but I cannot picture myself dating a man.
You know what's
again.
crazy? Okay, I'm so happy that also as an identified bisexual, queer, or we're queer or bisexual, may I ask?
Whichever one you want to use.
Yeah.
Because I feel interchangeable.
I use them interchangeably.
I mean, but is there a difference though?
I feel like queer is more like, I don't have a name for it, but I know I'm abnormal, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I love that.
But is it more like, oh, it's not really strict guy and man, it could be anybody in this, like pansexual, transgender,
not based on their gender identity.
Yes,
Totally.
because I have part maybe talking about exes, but I had an ex-fiance for a minute, and we.
What? Okay.
And I'm not gonna say his name because I do want to respect that and leave that be. But he was pansexual all throughout, and I loved it because it was just so much easier. And like I could just talk to things, and we would exchange notes and things. And of course, but it didn't bother me, and I didn't realize that was a problem until I came over here. And like it's weird, like women are like, I would never date a bisexual man. I'm like, why not?
Yeah.
Like that's the best,
out.
literally, and that's one of the best things that I would enjoy it. And also, I feel like
straight gals in the chat, get on it.
yeah, and that blows my mind, and I feel like that limits a lot. But I'm happy that you had come out, because being a bisexual in a straight passing relationship.
Yeah, it's hard.
Well, yes, and then also
Because people would look at your relationship and be like, that's a straight relationship. But knowing you and Spidey, not a straight relationship.
right? Like I'm like, no, we're my wife energy, goddammit. But it's very frustrating when one thing that I had to face at Pride was, like the first Pride I was there, I had to curse some gays out, could be like, they always say, you're on the fence. And I'm like, no, I built it. I live in the between. I'm a Libra. I know what balance is.
And I will tell you about it right now.
And these PowerPoint slides.
Exactly,
But
I have a list.
It's very frustrating to have to try to justify, especially in a community that was encompassing that. But I love that it is being in my relationship here, and I'm very happy for it. And I've dated about 2 women, but not in a full relationship, because unfortunately it was on the phase I didn't know how to properly love. But being also in your relationship, I feel like it's easier because the lesbian community will love you, and I get hissed at.
Well, they have their moments. So
Yeah.
like I had a lot of struggles with that, of like, especially because like I would go out with other queer women that were my friends and who were way more more like queer presenting, like and I would go out more feminine presenting, and people would just assume that I was the straight friend. And then when I would be like, no, I'm not being nice, I'm actually hitting on you, they'd be like, oh, are you a bisexual? And I'd be like, yes. Is that a problem? And that was, and for
so
for
annoying.
many, it is.
I do want to say,
It's very
my girlfriend
frustrating.
does not feel that
That's
way.
a thing, like,
sorry.
Sorry.
I want to say I have an opposite experience where I'm completely oblivious when girls flirt with me, because
also same.
I just like don't. I never even like considered, like I was like, I'm just gonna go to the gay bar with this flannel shirt to have a drink.
Oh, and they're like,
And,
With that face?
and I
let's
have
talk.
no idea that I'm like sending a message. and then that girls are like talking to me, and I don't realize that they're flirting with me, and I'm just like,
You
yeah.
gotta notice the register that they're using their voice. If they're like, "Oh my god, I love your top, so cute," like
And they
maybe
continue
they're
talking.
just like chatting
No,
with you. But
here's the thing.
If it's in that lower
No,
register,
like
I love your
Chris
outfit.
Chris had to pull me aside several
Does
times,
that
and was
energy?
like, "This girl is flirting with you."
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
We do realize that you're hot, right? We're not gonna have this conversation on the podcast. Like,
We get it. We get it. You're hot.
No, but I love it though because yes, like I feel like you just threw it to the wolves. I'm like, where can't I be? You'd be the friend to be like, and she's staying close to me.
God, I would love to be a fly on the wall for that interaction.
Right?
Hilarious. I love it.
I
love it.
feel like that is a vibe. Also, Josh has to tell me that. I don't understand when people are flirting with me also because I feel like I'm forced to just flirt just to talk, and then I'm like, oh,
Oh, that's what that was.
yeah. And Josh is like, hey, no, that person's trying to hump your leg, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I thought they were giving me shots because they give me shots.
Yeah. Oh, I thought that was getting free shots. Like,
Right.
because they want to be my friend. I want to have friends.
I just want a friend.
Like, oh, no, never mind.
I would love to go to the chat for just a second
Yeah.
again. I love Johnny's Blue coming back at the Asian parents, especially for Nobby, asking, "Are you a doctor yet?"
No, I am
to the
not.
parents.
Oh yeah. Ask
That was a good one. Booth Macaroni is asking if he can know what your ladies' pronouns are.
Oh my gosh.
What are
our pronouns?
Yeah, that's very polite.
Yeah.
Very polite. Do you guys want to share?
Yeah, I'll go. My pronouns are he, she. Oh, not he, she. She, her. he, she.
I support though.
Yeah, I myself as a female, but like I think kind of like going back to like the label, I've always been like kind of weird about labels because I don't really consider myself bi either. It's more like I'm
what I
attracted
like.
to intelligence.
Sapiosexual.
Intelligent.
That
is it
sexuality?
yeah, what is it?
Sapiosexual.
Sapiosexual.
The
Yeah.
English is crazy.
It is.
Fun.
But that's the thing, like sapiosexual, and like it could be anyone as long as they like attractive and take care of themselves.
Yeah, I'm
And
attracted to hot.
I'm
Are you
attracted to
hot?
hot. Like
I'm attracted to wash,
like, yeah.
looked after.
Yeah.
But-
I'm
high
attracted
credit
to,
scores.
Do you go to therapy?
Yeah.
I'm attracted to.
Ooh.
Are
Taking
you
care of
self-aware?
yourself.
We can't talk about this. It's getting real hot in here.
But yeah, going back to pronouns, she, her.
Same she, her, but I also don't really care what anyone uses.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fine. I'm human.
Goddess, daddy, HRH.
Yes.
I'm referring you to as daddy from now on.
Oh, thank you.
Maybe
That's how we will
Zaddy,
do
if
it.
I'm feeling spicy.
It's only for my close friends.
There is one more question, and that question is for Chris.
Ooh.
Chris, is that 5% for Jason Momoa or Chris Hemsworth?
What?
Or is it for Idris Elba?
Jason Momoa.
Michael B. Jordan?
And before you answer, I just want to say that me and Chris have an spoken agreement that we have one allowance of cheating, and
Has to be hot.
mine is Jason Momoa. So
Here's the
I
thing.
call
It doesn't have to be
dibs.
cheating.
I call
Maybe
dibs.
it doesn't have to be
Together, and then you can have
Maybe
another
a
one.
couple and then just post it.
Yeah.
maybe
I'm
it's a
gonna
group
save my
activity.
5% for a really weird pick. It's gonna have to be Seth Gilliam,
What?
Carver from The Wire.
What?
Seth Gilliam.
That's weird.
I know I said it was
Look
weird.
it up.
But you like
Honestly,
young
I love
one
that.
or Gabrielle with one eye?
Young one. I don't know. It can't be Jason Momoa. Marketa's supposed to have Jason Momoa. Also, I don't know.
Yeah, he's mine.
Just feels like
I'm
he'd be
sorry.
fun to have a beer with, but that's about it. Also, how could you say Michael B. Jordan? He's so cool. I want to fuck that guy. I want to be that guy.
Jordan.
Oh, okay. I
love
stand.
Michael B. Jordan.
I stand.
Michael B. Jordan's okay.
Beautiful boy. Beautiful guy.
No, this is
Beautiful guy.
I'll
Or
allow it.
obviously David Bowie because he's Bowie.
I'll allow
Or
it.
Prince. See, there you
David
go.
Bowie is
Prince.
universally
Yeah.
I feel like
accepted.
Prince could just tell you things.
I thought you were gonna see say like Tyson Beckford or
Oh, that makes me think of like middle school. I like
he
had.
was in middle school.
Did you ever have like those like bad magazines from the 90s and early 2000s that had the
Yeah.
like fold out posters?
No, I didn't have Jet 14.
I absolutely had one of those.
With all the
Michael
Jonas Brothers
Beckford.
that they give you the life-size posters in the magazine that you can put on your wall.
Yeah.
And they're just the height enough that you can
Yeah, all of those. I also had a lot of collages with a lot of, I went through a collage phase.
I love you.
And they're all still up in my childhood bedroom. And so there are a lot of ladies in these collages. Again, I just thought this is what everyone was doing. And then I brought my girlfriend home and she saw all of these collages in my room. And I have this like poster that's of, it's like a print of a painting of a lady, but it's just like her back and she's like playing the piano, but she's in like a low back. And I'm like, I like piano, so that's why I have it. And my girlfriend walked into my room. She's like, "Oh, baby,
Oh my God.
oh, baby, this is a very gay room." Like, I had no idea.
Very gay room.
Yeah,
She's going through like passive
What?
vibe check, vibe check,
What is
vibe
this?
check.
I was like,
Here's the thing
I
though.
love it.
One poster I never understood why people had. Did you have a Victoria's Secrets angel in your room? Because I didn't understand
no,
that.
but
No.
they were part of the collage.
I had Playboys actually.
Oh,
Yeah,
Miss
like,
Ma'am.
yeah, but like
Tell
I
us
love
more.
the open and middle. I don't know where I found them, but I found them somewhere and I like sneaked it in. But I love that like a middle like open is like a life. It's like
Yeah,
beautiful.
You're like, this is
yeah, and then
it's art.
I love reading the stories too, which didn't go anywhere. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, they just like did it on the desk. I was like, okay, cool. That's all I needed to know.
Yeah.
It's just like, when I was 5, I've been independent. You're like, okay.
Navi skimming through the text
But
just
now
to get to
knowing
the
everything
point.
about Playboy, I can't justify it. But
You know,
it was okay.
actually-
some of their stuff is not.
I have a
bad.
question. First, are we all, not to be intrusive, we're all cisgendered, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
What is
Yeah.
cisgender?
It means the sex that you were born with also
Yes.
aligns with the gender you present. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't for a while. I didn't like. If you look at my pictures of growing up, I was very tomboyish,
Same.
dressing up, and I
Same.
think I couldn't tell if it was because that's how I wanted to reflect it, or just like I was trying to go against Indian things. Like I don't want to be female. I don't want to do anything female related. Like I don't want to be home doing like chores.
Why am I doing the dishes?
Yeah, like doing dishes. Even though I love doing dishes, I don't want to do dishes. I don't want to cook. I still to the point where like, Mom, do not teach me how to cook because I'm never gonna cook. Even though now I'm living alone, so like I have to cook. But like I just try to be very opposite of everything. But that just. But now I'm like very female.
Yeah.
Like wear dresses, like very feminine to where compared to I was not when I was growing up.
I dabble in my presentation, but I think that's more like sensory stuff and just comfort. Like your girl has ADHD, and for a while she would absolutely not wear jeans. If you brought denim close to me when I was a youth, no, but I would wear pants and I would steal all my brother's clothes. But then I would also rock a cute dress all the time. Like I went through a phase where I didn't want to wear pants ever.
Yeah.
So it was only skirts and dresses. But then literally the next year I was like, burn all the skirts that I own, and I'm only wearing pants, but they cannot be denim. My mom
Interesting.
wanted to kill me.
That's like opposite. I was like all pants.
Did
pants,
you-
pants?
Feel the need, and I feel like that's with a lot of bisexual women that
Sorry, Chris just
Sorry, guys.
leapfrogged.
it was amazing. Did you feel like you had to battle and also find out what this whole masculine feminine energy was about and feel the need to reestablish both? Because I feel like a lot of people when I talk about that, they were like, well, this is a journey. Because I like doing both to a point. Like if I'm at home, I like to be more feminine, but my
Some
energy is fully
androgyny.
masculine. Like I can't stop that. Like I'm always very much. I'll be like something like, oh my god, that's so funny, but what the fuck did you just say? Like, it's very much like, oh, there. But I enjoy that. Do you guys feel like you had the same journey?
No. I think some people have a lot of that journey when they first come out, especially for the queer lady community, that a lot of sort of like the stereotypical lesbian presentation is pretty masculine. And so there are a lot of folks that start to dress a certain way just to feel part of the community, to feel more like themselves. And then sometimes it takes that self-exploration to understand that maybe you want more of a balance of your femininity in your style and your presentation. And I know that happens for a lot of people. I have always been like, I'm gonna wear whatever the heck I want to wear, and I don't care if I look however I look. But that's just because I'm indignant.
Like for me, I don't know. Like I said, like I was very tomboyish growing up, like wearing jeans because like, okay, I'm not gonna be wearing dresses because I don't want to be not considered female. Like I don't want anybody to looking at me as a female, especially like in India, like going down the street or whatever. There's like the male gaze is horrible. I'm sorry if you're brown, but like even now, like if I go, like I feel like somebody just walking. Sometimes I'm like, can can you just want to walk me home? Like, you just like watching me walk.
I hate that.
I hate that. But so that's what I was like, I'm gonna like hide myself, be like look like a guy or whatever.
Like armor, almost.
Armor, yeah. But now I'm like very feminine, really trying to get into like dresses and like learning how to do makeup and all that stuff because I'm really like, I feel like I do enjoy being that now.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like if I'm in a workspace, I try to be more male, be more masculine.
Yes.
Like I don't wear
Because we got weird stereotypes about
I know,
energy
like
in the
pants,
workspace and
exactly,
respect and
like
all
pants
those things.
all the way. Like I don't wear dresses at work. I don't wear skirts at work, even though I have a bunch of them. It's just like I'm very
Really?
specific because like it's just sometimes I'm also in a leadership role and I'm the youngest person.
Yeah.
And just to be like, I will wear heels. Like now I've just like started incorporating heels. Like last 2 or 3 years, I was wearing heels every fucking day. But I was still with pants. It was like I'm gonna make myself taller, wear pants.
You can feel my.
You can feel my presence when I'm walking in with my loud ass shoes that like I'm here, let's settle down, let's talk
I
business.
just always look like I could build you a fire.
And that's hot. You know, because of Legally Blonde, I actually went the other route. I'd always want to be like power woman, but know my femininity, but also I wanted to be like, look like a goddess, but know my energy that I will fucking cut you. And I love that, the like the 80s, but maybe because I saw it from my mom. Like,
Yeah.
that just like a lot. But like, not like more like the CEO that's like, yes, I'm cute, but also I'll fire you because I'm sorry, that's just company policy.
I love seeing that in media now because that kind of like helps me to know how to dress up. Like you can still have like a one button under, but at the same time like you have like full sleeve, like full
Or
on boss
corporate dress.
energy, corporate dress or corporate like long pants or whatever. But like I'm still have my femininity to a point where like I'm still like I am standing equal to you.
In presenting. I like
Yeah.
Moral of this story, gender presentation is complicated.
It's very
regardless
complicated,
of,
yeah.
how you identify internally.
But it gets
So-
easier when you know yourself. What were you saying? I'm sorry, Marketa.
I just want to move to the next question,
Yeah.
which I was denying you for the longest. So let's finally talk about coming out. And also, it's 10:11. So
Oh, yeah.
Alright.
I do want you
got
guys to
this.
say everything that you need to say.
Speed round.
Yes, speak
Yeah,
out,
I
and
can
let's
speed
just
through
give
it.
each other room to talk, to just tell their story.
Yeah, who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
We're like, no.
So
I don't want to relive that trauma.
Yeah. So my coming out mostly has been my friends. No, I think my friends were the first people that I came out to. I came out very late because I myself didn't know how to really. I hate labels, but I didn't know how to put a label or what it was. And I think certain points like labels do help. They were very acceptable. I came up to my siblings. My siblings were like, okay, and then moved on. Was like, cool, we still love
Great,
you.
thanks.
Yeah, I have not came out to my dad. That is the last thing that I'm very, very afraid to do. And I've come up to my mom, and my mom's been like, when I first told her, she was like, no, you're not. And she like walked out. I was like,
I've heard
okay.
that, yeah.
Yeah. And then I think recently she's been like kind of understanding because obviously I'm not dating anybody. I'm 30-year-old. I'm like not with someone. So I think she kind of understands like, okay, maybe there's something else going on. Like last week, she actually gave me a gift card from TJ Maxx and it was a pride flag. I know. I know. And I was like,
Building
so
an
sweet.
ally from the
It's
ground
so
up.
happy. But it's so happy.
Navi's mom is
I'm
so
glad you're
adorable.
But I have not told my dad. So it's gonna be thing like I don't think that's a fight that I really want to have with my dad until I have someone. Like if I have someone, I think that's where I am. Like if I'm with somebody who's a girl or anybody other than a male, I think I'm gonna have to have a fight with him anyway. Like if it's anybody besides Punjabi who's not Indian, it's gonna be a fight regardless because he's like that traditional. So I mean, even dating somebody outside of my caste, religion, race, it's gonna be a big deal. But I don't
Not
I
a
think-
doctor, not an engineer, not a
So
lawyer.
I'm just like, hey, if I find somebody that I really feel for, I will have that fight. Until then, there's no reason to. Yeah, thank you. But at the same time, like I think now it's been more helpful. Like I'm on my own. Like, hey, what are you gonna do? Tell me like. Get out of the house. Like I'm already out of your house. Like I'm not in here.
You should have it at your home so you can give them. They're like not in my house. My house, my
because
rules.
that's always been like with brown people, I think a lot of people who will like relate, it's like with brown families, like, you're not gonna do this until you live under my roof. It's like, okay, I have nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
You know, like, all right, I will do whatever, like, I'm until under your roof. And then I was like, I am not under your roof. What are you gonna, what are you gonna say? Like,
I'm not beholden to you in that same way anymore.
And it's like, like, what other people gonna say? Like, I don't even know your people. Like,
Who is people?
Yeah,
Who is people?
Like, I have completely gotten like very away from brown community. Like, most of my people that I know are here. Like, Normies are my family. Like, and they like it's the most diverse group of friends that I've ever had. And so like with brown community, I'm not with them at all. Like, I don't know the brown families as much as I know. Like, they know of me because, you know, people talk, like brown community just talk, but like, I don't know them. So
You're
for
not
me,
close with them.
I'm not close to them. Like, they're gonna talk. That is their business. People just gonna talk because that's what they like to do.
nothing else
Like,
to do.
yeah. It's been difficult. Like, finally I'm gone to a point where like, okay, now I need to really think about myself. Like, I'm done thinking what my dad would think. Be like, this is what I want.
Yeah, so it's hard. Yeah, especially when you have very traditional parents and family. And I do want to acknowledge that as bisexual people, we sort of have a bit of privilege in that we can kind of get away with not coming out until we're in a relationship. So for me, I've been out to my brother for a long time. He doesn't care. I've been out to my friends for ages. But I came out to my mom first, mostly because I was home visiting my family and my dad made a comment that was kind of homophobic. And I was like, I am done. I am done hearing this kind of stuff when I'm home. And I do love my family. They're sweet people. Chris and Marketa have both met them. They're so sweet. They're so kind. I love them so much. But they just are stuck in their ways a little bit. They're older and they don't get when they say something wrong unless I tell them. And sometimes I have to tell them multiple times over and over again why something isn't appropriate. And for the longest time, like when they would say things like that, they just thought it was because like, oh, she has gay friends, so this is like, that's why she's saying this, and not understanding that it was actually hurtful to me the entire time. Like they had no clue. And so I was talking to my mom. We were literally out. My parents live on a lake, so I was on my little paddleboard. My mom was swimming out with me, and I was like, Dad pissed me off. Yeah. And it's not just because of XYZ. And that's how I came out to her and had to explain bisexuality to her. And she was like good, but also was like confused. She had to like ask some clarifying questions about what bisexuality was. So maybe don't do it on a paddleboard in the middle of a lake.
I think it's a great because then you can just.
She couldn't really go away unless she literally started swimming away from me.
I think you should do it on like a 2-person kayak. They can't leave.
Not an open one, a closed one.
They're like a turnaround, like let me pedal.
I'm more for the cafe example. Do it in public because no one can lose their mind in public, and then you can escape in the crowd.
Hey, have you not seen Frankie and Grace and Frankie? Yeah, they will. Hey, if I'm gonna make a scene, I will make a scene.
And then, if this is the time that you want it to be here, we can be here. The gays will be with me.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But so the thing that happened was, like, my mom was okay. She was like, okay, well, we love you. We love whoever you want to love. Like, okay. But I think in her mind at that moment, because I explained that there's still this, like, realm of possibility of me ending up with a cis straight man, that she thought she would never have to really deal with it, and was just like, okay, still might marry a man. I don't have to worry about this.
Surprise, mother.
And then like a year later, I'm like, hi, hello, I have a girlfriend that I really love and adore, and I want you to meet. And then things got weird. Really? And then they were not super great. I had to have a lot of really hard conversations with my mom and continue to, but she has gotten a lot better because I'm not really like letting her get away with shit.
Yeah, so you shouldn't.
But a lot of folks have had to do a lot of reckoning in this past year and a half, and so have my parents.
What about your dad? Did you talk to your dad yet?
So I talked to both of them, and he just doesn't know how to talk about it. Like, he's better about it now, like... But he just doesn't have the right like words for it, or doesn't like understand really. And I've had some really tough conversations with him specifically because both of my parents have expressed that they didn't think I was being authentic to myself when I came out and when I told them about my girlfriend, which was very hard to hear.
What do you mean?
My mom basically said that she thought I was lying, that I was like just doing this to do it. Yeah.
To like piss them off or like to
or
get
just
with
she couldn't answer those follow-up questions. So anytime I'd be like, why would I do that? Because then I was telling her about how some of the things she had said and how she had reacted since I was like excited
and
about
they act
my
like it
girlfriend.
never existed.
It was that, and she was like, and I was expressing to her how some of the things she was saying hurt me, and her response was, well, what about my hurt? And I was like, your hurt?
Like,
for what? And
Yeah.
then she didn't have an answer. And like, we've since worked through some of those things, but like, they were still said and they're still there, you know?
Yeah.
And my dad is very much like, I'm happy for you if you're happy. Like, they've met Olivia, they like her. She, I mean, how could you not? She's amazing. But there is still this part of my dad, because I told him, I was like, well, what if someday, like down the line, I'm still with this woman and I'm marrying her. Are you at the wedding? He was like, yes, I'm there. But
Nope.
he doesn't.
I know what you're saying.
He doesn't view it as like, he was like, I'm not changing my thoughts and feelings about what marriage is.
Okay.
And so
So I'm resending that invite.
yeah, so they're making progress. It's taking a while, so I'm trying to kind of continue because I do love them and I want to have an adult, not surface level relationship with my family.
Yes.
And it has taken a lot of work because they just have a lot of their own reckoning to deal with, and a lot of that is religious based.
I'm sorry to hear.
And so my dad has been not the greatest, but it's one of those, it could be a lot better, it could be a lot worse. So they're still like, yes, bring your girlfriend around, yes, and they're always so kind of nice to her. But when I talk to them still and like tell them about my week on the phone, and I'm like, oh yeah, Olivia and I went to dinner, or we went down to her family's house for the weekend, they don't ask follow-ups. They don't ask how she's doing. They don't do those things that like people usually do. Yeah. And so they're still kind of like, and I think part of it is they don't want to say something wrong, but they also just aren't saying anything in the
Do
process.
they care? That's always what I think
And
about.
that's what
do you really care?
Exactly. And so there's kind of a tricky dynamic there still.
Makes
but
sense.
they're on the journey. They are getting better. They're starting to understand some things a bit more.
Progress is better
come
than none.
a long way in the past like year or so. So it's tricky. So that is why I always tell people, like, come out when you feel safe, when you feel like it's okay, because and honestly, even if you are in a safe, like, not beholden to anyone's space, you still don't owe that to them. Like, I didn't have to come out to my family, but I wanted to have more than a surface level relationship with them, because I've dated women before and didn't tell them about it or lied about it to them. And I didn't want to do that anymore. I wanted to have an authentic, open relationship with my parents. And there was a bit of pushback from it, which has been tough.
Speaking of pushback.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's get into it.
I just before we get to Brie, I just want to say that it makes me really sad that your dad is that way.
Yeah.
Because especially
You've
like
met them. They're
saying,
sweet
I know
people.
they're
so
wonderful.
Fun, but
I mean, so is my dad is extremely homophobic, and like I don't really even want to talk about it.
Yeah.
But the fact that, like, you know, there's a possibility of you getting married to a woman, and he would come to this event, but at the same time tells you that this
You would go and
union
be
is not
kind.
illegal in his mind. That's like
so infuriating.
that is
It is,
extremely
And he doesn't get when I say that was
Hurtful.
hurtful. He doesn't understand when I tell him that's actually very hurtful of you to say.
I know.
And it really makes me sad that you feel that way. And he sees my pushback on that and my hurt from that as like critique of his
Upbringing.
his views, his religion, and his upbringing.
But like his whatever it is goes directly against your personal happiness. So like
Exactly.
sometimes you need to revisit those things if you're like hurting people, and especially somebody who is literally your daughter.
yeah, I've
So-
given them so many resources. They
This
don't.
part is brought to you by therapy.
yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
Therapy's not just for
helps.
your kids; it's also for the parents and grandparents.
everyone.
Oh, absolutely.
Everyone.
All right, Bree.
Yeah.
Push back.
After my pity party, let's move on.
It's an adventure. So for my parents had me very young. And so I talked to my mom a lot. And I remember when she said, like, oh, when your dad was younger, he would say, like, I don't care if my daughter or whoever is like gay or straight, I'm gonna love them anyway, right? So my mom was religious, my dad wasn't, but he just went to church for a minute just to be like, your mom likes church.
Yeah.
And then we stopped going. It was the greatest day of my life.
No offense to people that go to church.
I mean, if you were religious, go, but it was just unfortunately the church. We had a great church in Germany, and we adored them. And we came back stateside. Unfortunately, that experience wasn't mimicked. They were very open, very much your relationship to whomever is very personal, and all I'm here to do is love you, and I love that. With that premise, also my mom being Jamaican, so I had the idea that there was another queer in the family, and it was Uncle Calvin, and his relationship with my grandmother was very damaged because of it. So that wasn't already in my mind. I'm a very impulsive person. I'm very much of a Naruto. I'm very much of like, I'm gonna break this wall and break these cuffs. And so when I was like, I should probably come out to my parents, I did it after dinner in Fort Bragg. And we got into a huge fight, which much I've just left into my psyche. But I remember my dad's like, you don't know who you are. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I do.
Yeah.
And then my mother came up to me upstairs to try to console me. She goes, are you sure you like women? You know what vaginas look like? They look like roast beef. Do you want that all in your mouth?
Oh my god! Like you have one. Of course you know how it looks like.
And that's the first time I'm like, is that what you think you look like?
Oh my god.
God.
There's a lot to unpack
Some
right
of them
there.
roast beefs are not good.
Right? Exactly. I like roast beef.
Yeah.
It's been an adventure. So then he drove me to school and I took it all back. But yeah, that's
You
what I
took it
did.
all back?
Yep.
You were like, yep, no, just kidding, prank.
Clearly didn't know who I was.
Because I had to still learn, and I didn't learn until recently how to completely stand up to myself.
Yeah.
But they got it because I joined GSA. I did like the day of silence, and then they would try to like make fun, and then they didn't realize that I had Twitter fingers, and I was out here, and I found an app that would speak what I wrote, so I started talking. It was very much there. And I think what came with it was the respect that when they knocked, I bucked. And so it took some conversations, because even now it's still kind of stressful, especially with trans issues. It's very much close to me because a lot of my friends are trans. And so when they say some stupid shit, I dive into that. And my mom's like, well, I'm not sure if it's an illness. And I'm like, well, Mom, that's a problem.
Yeah.
And
If you can, call your parents out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so it was very much, and so especially with my dad would like to say that he was like, you can't act grown under someone else's roof. And I'm like, that's inaccurate. That's been an endless fight because of this and because of that. And after this whole fight, I remember I would try to speak to my dad. And my dad is 15, and so our relationship has differed at this moment. It's just very a painful memory for me. And I was like, do you realize we're not gonna be as close to each other because of this? And he goes, how you feel about the situation is not my fault. And so I have built a lot of resentment, and I play the long game. So it's been just a few years of us being very hurtful for each other because we were both very gifted at the tongue, and no regrets. But it's come to the point now I feel like with their might have a happening of mortality and their experiences that they have with themselves and my closeness with mortality and seeing that like this is all we got really. We should be nice to each other, but also I keep reminding them like I read King Lear and I will treat you like him. You can name me Baron. I'm like, I was like, hey, don't live with me because that first year is all mine.
Yeah.
All mine.
Damn.
But I do love them, and it's still a process. Because I was very frank, and I was like, I'm going to be myself regardless. So when I went to college and I dated my first girlfriend, I was like, I have a girlfriend. My mom was like, oh, you're dating a girl? Yeah. And I'm like, yes. And she goes, okay.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Mom, and what?
And she was like, yeah, it was very much like, because I was always presented like if I needed to, I'm very adamant of, and being aware of, I feel the need to protect and feel the need that my partner will protect me, and thus for my family, I knew that whomever I'm dating, I'm going to protect them. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. They're not getting away with shit. And my mom's actually become very accepting, and she listens. And so she will ask questions. She was like, oh, Hannah, she's like, do you really like her? She's like, yes, like, what does she do? And it was there. And they didn't meet her because it was very short. And unfortunately for that relationship, I was not mature enough for a lot of the relationships I was in at the time. But
It happens.
Right, and I've never also had a horrible breakup, so I was mostly friends with him. So I brought her, like, next year, we'd already broken up. She had a new girlfriend whom I adore, smart as a whip. We were going to Germany, and I was like, "You just want to crash in my parents' house? It's cheaper that way," because we were both in the same class in there. And she came over, and my mom was nothing but loving, very acceptable. My mom's it was very good pace for that, and I can trust her that she's not going to act out for anything. And it's been an ongoing conversation, but my mom really came up to me, and she's like, I'm going to love you regardless, no matter what you do. My father and I aren't that close. We're good roommates. Like that type of relationship's there. It's very much like, hey, what are you doing? Are you doing this? Okay.
Did you watch this show? Very cool.
Like, oh, you're doing pew pew on the thing. Okay. Hi. And fade to dark, which is changing a bit and through cooking. But I know my mom will talk to my dad. Is unfortunately bottlenecked in that situation that I find that many families have. But it's been an adventure. Like I said, I've never had to come out to like anybody else because everyone was like, bet, or I'll say it very upfront, like I'm bi. And I had like a lot of college professors and everything. They just like, girl, we know. And a lot of them, especially with the queer community, they just usurped you. So I got to see other elder gays and have that perspective of when I came out. But it feels like I haven't told the rest of my family. I also assumed that it wasn't necessary because I don't feel that tied to it. But I'm also very much at the fact of, if you don't respect my relationship, you don't need to be in my life. And I'm going to be okay regardless. And knowing that my family network and they will not speak ill or treat my partner ill. Like my dad says it in group settings. He's like, no matter what my kids do, I'm always going to love them. So I assume that's his way of telling it to me, and that's how I'm going to take it until we have to have these hard conversations because I'm ready and caffeinated. But it's an ongoing process, but it's still a very painful memory. But then let me tell you about this, because this pissed me off, because this is when I knew progress was made. I have a little sister. I love you, Bassie. This bitch came out to my mother on a text. Girl.
Power.
A girl. And she goes, hey mom, you know I'm pansexual. And my mom screenshots the message and calls me. And I'm in college and I'm getting a drink after class. And it was perfect because as soon as the cold beer hit my hand, I see this text and I'm just thinking, holy fuck. Like, I'm like, should I call my sister? Is my mom about to cuss out my sister? Because I remember how our fight was, and I love hard and I love with my whole heart. So I remember having that feeling of my heart being crushed and all this. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, are they gonna throw her out? I'm gonna have to come back from Paris and go pick my sister up. And my mom picks up the phone. And I go, hey mom. She goes, did you see what I just sent you? And I go, yeah. Because I don't know how it's gonna go. And she goes, what the fuck does pansexual mean? I have to learn other letters of the alphabet. When I grew up, it was just LGBT. There's more. I'm like, yeah, mom, there's a plus. She's like, what is this? She's like, explain it to me. And I was like, I'm so happy that this is what's going on.
It's pansexual.
She's like, I have to learn more shit. It's like essentially, like, it's just bisexual, but like,
I don't care that she's pansexual, but like, I have to learn another thing.
That's what she's mad about.
And
that's awesome.
Adored that. I was like, okay, I'm so happy. This is there. But I was also like, then I was making her. I was like, what the fuck? You're not gonna give her beef? I was like,
No, that's right.
But I'm happy for that. I mean, it was very welcoming, and that was very much a good indicator. I was like, okay, my family is understanding that their children are their children, and we're not representations of them, or we're not an extension of them, that we're our own people. And that was very big. My brother says he's adamantly, he's like, there has to be one straight person in this family, and it's gonna be me. I'm like, my parents are like, out of the siblings, there has to be one, and I'm gonna take that torch. But I'm making sure he's metrosexual by giving him all the things, like hygiene, eyebrows,
energy.
Yeah, because like if you're gonna have two people of the gay community, you can't embarrass us. Like you need to have it together.
Yes. Have the fashion.
So it does get better.
It does.
Say it. It does.
It takes a lot of learning yourself. Meditate. Meditations, and YouTube helps a lot.
And in the end of the day, like, I think what has helped, like, mostly everybody here would agree, like, depending on how your family takes it, you need to love yourself. Like, you need to love yourself.
There's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with you, no matter what people tell you. Like, how you're feeling is totally validated. Like, you yourself need to figure out who you are, and you may not have a label. That is,
And that's okay.
okay. That's completely
And
okay.
your labels might change.
The label might
That's also
change,
okay.
and the only thing is like you need to be open about it, because the label that it was LGBT several years, and now there's plus, and like I still don't know all the pluses, but like there's
We're learning. We're all learning.
there is something there for you. You just need to know who you are for people to know who you are.
And allow people to change, because people
Yes.
will surprise you.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
there are people who will accept you even though it feels like whatever town you might not have that in. Because I do want to just highlight Spidey a little bit, and I'll keep it under 30 seconds. But he really shocked me, because I was always with the idea that a lot of black men are homophobic. And so I did not always skew that way, because it's like, oh, now I gotta go defend myself and the community and deal with you. And if your partner's homophobic, you're not an ally. So all of that's coming in to play, but he is taking the steps to learn. And he's like, oh, so it's LGBTQIA plus? I'm like, yeah, there's like a lot of places to put it. And he's like, okay, so which one are we? And then he'll like, and he's very like, I watch RuPaul's Drag Race, and I love the reading challenges, and he likes to roast, and he's like, oh, what did you say? Okay, this is Ginger Minge? Okay. He's like, I don't like drag queens, but I know that you like it. And then he'll do the things of such, and like, I'll talk about pose, and he's like, legendary, that's voguing, right? And I'm like, yes.
Love it.
That's very enjoyable.
Love it.
So there's
Yeah.
people out there that will surprise you. Just stay open, but truly the benefit is just love yourself, exactly what Nobby said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also would say that, coming out is extremely difficult. I've never had to do that. But,
You have to do it a lot.
Yes,
Yeah.
and never
Yeah.
ending.
yeah. But the good thing is, no matter, first of all, do it only if you feel safe, if you're in a good space to do it.
And a country that doesn't behead you.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, that
Absolutely.
too.
Yeah.
But the risk, whatever it is that you take, will pay back. If not to you, then to the rest of the community, because
Generations.
you can only see from like Bree's story of how much shit she had to deal with for her sister to then just send out a text and it's okay.
A green
Like-
bubbled text.
That is incredible.
Cannot, like,
That's
Yeah.
like a fucking
it's
miracle
changing.
to me.
The world is changing. The
world
world
is
is
changing.
different.
Thank
There's
goodness for
more
that.
more people out there. There's more information on it. I think
Yes.
more information, the
Yeah.
better.
And then you can see old elder gays. Like I think that was the most important thing for me,
Yeah.
because I
Elder
didn't
gays.
realize, because you didn't see that. I was like, do we just die off? Like, or do we all
They
just
did,
killed?
They did. A lot of them did.
Oh,
And especially with the AIDS crisis,
Yeah.
like, oof, I don't know, can get all into Reagan, but it was very much like now, like seeing it like old gays on YouTube. I was like, I remember us
The
talking to
old gays
Josh.
on TikTok, they're so fun.
Yeah, I love them.
I was like, this is what I wanted as a kid.
yeah.
And seeing queer black women.
Yeah.
Oh,
So-
I love that. Sense 8, bring it back.
There are a
Yes.
couple coming out stories in the chat. There's actually a lot.
Wow. Thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for
you.
Very
sharing.
kind of you.
Manny, our mod, Amanda D, aka Manny, she is bi. And she said that it's actually because she came out so late, it's hard for her to convince people that she's actually bi.
Yep. Been
Yeah.
there.
Like people
Heard
don't
that.
take her seriously and don't believe.
Yeah.
That's an issue
Yeah.
with people that identify as bisexual across the board. It's just
Both sides.
it's just you're gonna run the gamut with it, but just be steadfast because your identity is valid and it's not, oh, you're one way or the other. Like people can
Absolutely.
Your identity is your identity. Like
Yeah.
Fact.
you, whoever you want to be.
And peace of mind, that block button's right there. Use it
Yeah.
if need be.
Yes.
block,
As
delete.
helps a lot.
Delete.
We have also Booth Macaroni, who's been very active in the chat. Thank you so much. So apparently he's also from a brown family, like you, Nobby.
Hey, unite.
But he's incredibly lucky because his dad was accepting. His dad was accepting.
Wow.
He says, my mom was less so, but they still loving, so I'm grateful. My extended family, on the other hand, well, you think that my life was Dante's Inferno with how often I get condemned to hell.
So does that mean do it cook next barbecue? Like that's what I want to know. Do you want it too? Something needs to be flaming, not just me.
I don't know.
Extended family, I think brown extended family sometimes put way more fuel on a fire than your own family does. That's just what I've learned.
See, I'm white. I don't like my extended family, so
don't
I don't have to
either.
worry about that. We don't.
Talk to people who need to.
It's okay. I'm like, there's a few of them. I like my grandma. She's all right.
We have an asexual in the chat as well.
Oh, nice.
Otaku Riser.
Nice.
He's an asexual from a brown family. My parents know I don't date and I don't want to marry. They're okay with that, so that's about the best I can expect. Sexuality isn't really a topic. The grandparents understand over there.
They don't understand sex. It's unfortunate. Sometimes it does happen.
Yeah. There were several contributions from Nikilo Bunny, who has been in a closet for 21 years and still is, because she knows she'd be disowned by her family if she did come out. She says she's all right with that. In due time.
Yeah,
in due time.
I didn't come out to my parents till I was like mid 20s, late 20s.
Same.
So
Same.
I'm not gonna tell you how old I am.
Until I was
But you can
financially-
guess how long ago that was.
So like Sarah, her family are like churchgoers.
Yeah. When you met them, I was not out to them.
Yeah, they say that she said that, like, in general, like if they would talk about other gay people, it would be like, oh my God, if you ever turn that way, I'll knock the hell out of you. So
And then missing with them hands. Then that's what it turns
Comments
into.
like that.
Go to a boxing ring and you realize, hey.
I think
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
other thing. Like you also have to. Your parents are the way they are because way they grew up.
And they're just people. No,
You
I hate
know.
that excuse. No, please can we not expedite that?
No,
Because
no,
that is how
I
my
was
mom would
gonna
always say, you
expand
know
on
how
it.
they grew up. And I'm like, no, you can change. We have the internet.
Oh yeah, but the thing is, like for that one's like it's the kids' responsibility, our generation, to help them understand what they're saying
Because
when
they're
they're
not
saying
doing
this.
it on their own. They
Yeah.
should, but they're not.
Yeah, and sometimes they don't realize what they're saying is
But
hurtful.
sometimes
They're like,
they
hey,
can, because my girlfriend's parents have been on their own journey of sort of learning like what things are like okay to talk about and like things to question. And they're at this point now where like they grew up where like queer was an insult. Like if you called someone queer, it was you were being awful to them. And now even they're like watching TV shows. We just had this conversation with them. It was so sweet. They were rewatching, I can't remember what show it was, but it was a show that came out in like the early 2000s or something like that. And they're noticing, they're like, we're rewatching it, and some of the stuff that they're saying in there, we're like, this is not okay. How did they get away with this back then? And they're noticing and having those conversations now. But
that's good.
It's taken a
'Cause
while to get there.
yeah.
Even I hope
I mean,
they
even
are.
even my parents now like make way more less comments than they used to. It's because like every time they did, I will fight with them. Like
yeah.
even before I coming out, I'd be like, no, that's not okay. Because their comment would be like, oh, back then there didn't used to be that many gays. It's like nobody came out because like
You
in
are horrible
India you can still go to jail. Like
Yeah.
that's still a law.
It was
Like,
illegal in the States for most of the
Yeah.
time that my parents were
So
alive.
it's like-
And so was cunnilingus, fun
teaching.
fact.
Oh, that breaks my heart.
Charlie Chapman was a big conduit. Did not realize that. It was huge.
Fascinating.
interesting.
Fascinating.
Charlie Chap.
He would say, I like to give cunnilingus. And people are like, whoa, yes. I will go and jump into that.
Sure or not, I need to look that up in the back end.
Do look it
With
up.
a mustache. I don't know if I want that.
This is why Charlie Chaplin is the fucking goat.
That stash was doing
Absolute
extra work.
goated.
I will expedite this, but I will find a quote of a major actress whom we love, and when I say this, it's black and white, and I hope my names are not correct, but it was a huge thing for them to say that.
Yeah.
But I also agree because I just hate when people are just like, well, back in my day, I'm like, well, you also did you look for them? Like that's the question. I'm like, they're always there. You can read history. Like my favorite TikTok is, and they were roommates.
Yes, and they were roommates. But it's just the history. They were roommates. They were never roommates.
And you're like, this, and also, throughout history, we see a lot of contusions and coituses with other people and orgies. I'm like, so why are you like? I don't tell people if you don't read history, you don't realize that this is a very
They're
prudish
just putting
time.
their own
India-
particular worldview. Like they don't see outside of it. They don't learn outside of it, and that's how they experience the world. So by the time like all of these things are happening like parallel to them, but they're ignoring it because one, they don't agree with it, they don't believe in it, so then they don't see all the things that they're missing, and it takes sometimes like a child or a close friend or a family member to be like, hey, you have had your blinders on to the rest of the world. Like my parents and a lot of my family have had blinders on to the societal change that we have all seen. And so they still have these antiquated beliefs because their worldview is what they experience. So they don't see like white people don't see the things that are happening with other races because they have blinders on and they don't want to take them off. And it's that same thing with like the queer community with just general societal progress.
Between each other.
Like, they just don't want to take them off. And it's our job sometimes to
Exactly. Like we shouldn't just expect that all of a sudden they will realize like, oh, this change. Like my parents came from a whole different country and they didn't like, oh, we should hybrid or whatever, like include it. It's like sometimes they're just in their community because people move, they still find their own community and they tend to stick there. So it's like, you need to tell them like, hey, this is happening. You need to accept it because if they don't have to deal with it, they can continue living in their own bubble.
Yeah, and that's so frustrating because I'm just like, be adventurous. And I love it when they're like, be adventurous, do yourself. And I'm like, no, because you like to clip my wings. Yeah. And so unfortunately for this year, for me has been a realization of I have been able to live by myself. I know I can take care of myself. I know I can find a chosen family. There's over 7 billion people in the world. I know I will find someone that's close to me.
People are out there.
And my parents are literally just people. And not in a bad way. They are my parents. I do love them. There's all that, but I have to keep that realization of they are also people.
They're people and they're flawed.
It's so hard.
And people, like everyone is. And if I have to give the grace to myself, I will give it grace to others, but also I will hop in your ass. Because I expect that from my friends. Like I expect my friends to be like, hey, that wasn't kosher, to tell me. Yeah. And it's just frustrating sometimes when you see so many people become the products of their parents and they don't waver. And like, especially what I found in the Midwest,
chances that we don't give other people.
Yeah, but then there's no one to combat them, and I feel like I must be the one a lot of the time.
Go for it.
Because like when people independently just start up conversation that's very anti-gay, I always go, I'm like, are you closeted? Yeah. How would you know that's gay shit? Yeah. Do you know? Like, what the fuck is wrong with
Where
you?
Are you
and
getting
then
your information from?
You're the only person in the room, and people looking at you like you're crazy, and you're like, no.
Let me bring the
What
facts.
is wrong with you? Yes. And I'm like, why are you still bringing this up? We're having a great time, and now I have to go and read you for filth. And the library is always open. The problem for me also is my library is very like, I'm like ivory tower, my things burn. Like there's a comedian, he was like, I was trying to tell coded messages to my mom, and I told her, I just realized that jail is like the slavery system, and I'm Nat Turner. And I laughed, and I was the only one who laughed.
Hey, Bree, real quick, someone mentioned filth in the comments. Can you please tell us what filth is for anybody who doesn't know?
Oh, like read someone to filth?
Yes, you dress them down with your words. Reading them for filth is you go and unlock it and you peel the layers like an onion to show them the grossness that is them, the dumpster fire that they need to be exposed of.
Yeah.
Whoosh.
Yep.
Whoosh. Yeah, thank you.
It's terminology that came from like the ball scene. Black, queer, trans women.
Because also, when RuPaul's Drag Race first came out, my dad banged Don't Be Jealous for my boogie. So I was more than shocked when that came out. And I was like, what the fuck is this?
Can we end that with that song?
Yeah, don't be jealous of my boogie. Don't be jealous of my boogie.
I love RuPaul does frack on his land.
I mean, sometimes it's a freaking frack.
Everyone has problems.
That part.
Anyways.
So a couple more things here. There are so many other people that submitted comments about their struggles and, coming out stories and how hard it's been. Some people who can't even find friends, let alone,
Tumblr,
family. I'd say also please join our Discord because it's a safe space. There are a lot of allies there and a lot of people like you that you can relate to and talk to.
We love you.
Please, you are not alone. So please surround yourself with people that love you. I also want to say that we are going to be on a 1-week break. So there's not going to be any podcast next Friday. Oh, and also we are working on establishing the Super Secret Girls Club Instagram.
Super Secret Girls Club.
I'm pretty sure it's actually
Super Secret Girls
it's up.
Yeah.
So if you go look it up, you will find it.
Can we do like a Kim Possible shoot for it? Can we like all get crop tops and like baggy cargo pants? Okay.
Let's go for it.
It's bare bones right now, but we are going to be posting a lot of things there. Hopefully a lot of encouragement, so you don't feel alone. We will also be sharing the topics after the break. We will have 5 more episodes, 5 more topics. We'll be sharing those topics there. We might have a poll too, so you'll be able to influence what we do. So please do all those things. We love you guys. Thank you for sticking around. Right now, we still have 73 people here. Thank you so much.
Happy Pride, happy Pride, happy Pride.
Happy Pride.
Please stick around as we raid somebody else. And without further ado,
Is it a gamer?
there's Gamer Geek. Is he online? Oh,
Get ready.
all right. Bye.
Bye.
For you to speak your mind. Super Secret Girls Club. Super Secret Girls Club. Super Secret Girls Club.
Thank you all so much for watching this week's episode of the Super Secret Girls Club. We'd like to give a special shout out to our super patrons, Michelle, Sakif, Clayton Davis, Exploring Dylan, Dane, Mr. Momus, and Joe Mags. Thanks again, and be sure to catch us live over on Twitch.